everyone. My name is Ekta Arora and I will be teaching you today your SST chapter 6, and the name of this chapter is Towns, Raiders and Craftsmen. So today, see, we have already discussed in the previous chapters that some things were very good. They did a lot of their uh, occupied space, their country, and they built many temples. They focused on the infrastructure, which leads to development and urbanization. But there were few leaders who did not do anything. So today we are going to study about all time period of all the kings in North, Deccan, South, what happened and how happened and how urbanization happened actually, how the development happened. India already has a long history of urbanization because we have already seen our historical evidence and we have learned in the previous chapters also. There were urban growth also and urban decline also. What were the positive factors behind urbanization? This varies according to the kings and their ability to do something. Okay, now how we get to know this information? How we know that which king did what and how the urbanization happened, how it did not happen. So we got some literary sources. We have learned about the literary sources in the first chapter. What are literary sources? And we got about 20 books of Al-Biruni, Ibn Battuta, Marco Polo. They told us about everything because they were the travelers who came to India at that time and they have written books on it. Urbanization. So first thing what we are going to discuss today is urbanization in the Deccan and South. So we are going to discuss it in two parts. First part, we'll discuss it from 800 to 1300 AD and another one will be 13 to 1800 AD. So first we are going to discuss this part, 800 to 1300 AD. In this time period, Deccan and South received strong stimulus by the rise of new kings and dynasties, Chalukyas, Rashtrakutas, Yadavas, Pallavas. They all came at that time in Deccan and South, and they did a lot of things for their uh, occupied spaces. They made their towns the noble towns. The Cholas ruled over the Tamil country from 900 to 1300 AD. The cities grew in number, so they were developing their places. Tanjore and these many cities are still well known. Kumbakoram, if you have heard these names. A major feature of these cities is the presence of one or more temples which dominate the urban landscape. Even today, the approach of major cities in the south is indicated by the appearance of the temple Gopura. Now we'll discuss about what happened in 1300 to 1880. So March onwards, what happened? Muslim invaded in India. So Deccan acted as a buffer zone between north and south. This region was divided into number of Muslims and Hindu kingdoms. The Brahmani kingdoms of Ahmednagar, Bijapur, Gokulanand had to meet the stiff opposition of the Vijayanagar kingdom with its capital at Hampi. We'll discuss about Hampi in detail. It's a very famous tourist spot nowadays. The Marathas rose to power in 7th century, 17th century and established Pune. So they established who? Marathas as their capital. So whatever will be the capital, obviously there will be development at that place. They also exercised controls over parts of extreme south as far as Madurai and Tanjore. A number of major cities grew up in Deccan. For example, Bijapur, Ahmednagar, Gulbarga, Badami, Kolhapur, Pune, Hyderabad, they all were developed at that time. A number of these cities continue to occupy position of great importance. And because at that time they were of great importance, because development happened at that time, that is why they are also there today also they are important. Hyderabad and Pune are million plus cities. Ahmednagar, Bijapur, etc. These cities were the capital of Muslim rulers, while Hampi and Pune they were occupied by the Hindu kings. In the far south, ancient kingdom of Cholas, Pandyas, Rajputas had come to the end. This period was the period of confusion, and there was no urban growth, there was urban stagnation. So these kings, they were just trying to sustain, they were just trying to maintain what was made by the earlier kings. Now comes urbanization in North. Between 600 to 1000 AD, urbanization in North India continued to make slow progress under Hindu kingdoms. Rajput kings established numerous towns in Marwar, Mewar, Malwa, whereas Palas contributed to the urbanization of the Ganga Delta. The invasion part. What happened? The invasion of Muhammad Ghazni, which we have already done in the previous chapter. When he invaded, he destroyed everything. So the invasion of Muhammad Ghazni ravaged cities of northwest and western India. Later, the sultans built new cities within the present site of Delhi. Siri, Tughlaqabad, Jahanabad, they were all built at that time. Now, see, why we know all of these things? Because of the books written by Al-Biruni and Ibn Battuta. They have already mentioned nearly 50 important cities during this period, most of which were existed earlier. The two leading cities of North India were Delhi and Agra. Mathura, Thaneshwar, Allahabad, Varanasi, Patliputra, Gwalior, and these many cities were also important cities at that time. Now, urbanization in the Mughal period. What happened during Mughal period? How was the urbanization at that time? So, India attained a high level of political stability, which we have already learned, and economic prosperity under the Mughals. As such, the old cities were revived and new cities were added. So, there were total 16 large cities, and these are the names of these 16 cities. From all the 16, 4 have survived as large cities of today: Delhi, Ahmedabad, Lucknow, and Varanasi. But some vanished and some were destroyed. Capital cities. Capital cities at that time were Delhi, Sikri, Agra. They were the capital cities time to time. Pune emerged as the capital city for Marathas. What was the condition of industries at that time? So there was actually the growth of traditional industry, for example, textile, metalwork, art and craft. So these were developing at that time. And Dhaka, Varanasi, Ahmedabad, they were the major urban centers of industry and craft. What about trade centers? External trade was going on at that time. A number of trade centers emerged during the Mughal period, and the main centers were Cambay, Surat, Satgaon, Thugli. Now, Cambay and Surat were by far the most important trade centers at the time. Burhanpur in Malwa was the major center of the trade between Mughal and the Deccan kingdom. What about port cities? What is a port city? Which is near to the ocean. See, India had a flourished overseas trade since ancient times. Therefore, several port towns existed on the west coast as well as east coast. Cambay, Sapora, Bhod, Surat, Kochi, Goa, etc. were on the west coast and they were flourishing. Why? Because they were trading with Africa, Southwest Asia, and many European countries. And east coast, which had Tamrali Sea, was the ancient seaport in Bengal. Puhar was located on the present Tamil Nadu coast. Masulipatnam was another port during the later medieval period. Now we'll study about Hampi, which I was telling you that it's a famous tourist spot nowadays. So Hampi, it was known as Vijayanagar at that time, and it was founded in the 14th century, but was abandoned after 1565. And it lies near the river Tungabhadra, which is in Karnataka. Now, what happened? This place, why this place is famous? Because it has a lot of architectural remains. We'll study about those things. See this. Vivid accounts of the capital grandeur, means glory, are given by Persian, Italian, Portuguese, with whosoever came here. they have wrote about Hampi and glory in their literary sources. Why this is so famous? Because it has some remains, though it was ruined, but it has some remains like gateways, granite slabs, portly pavilions, elephant stables. So it has a lot of see this picture, beautiful. So it has these kind of places, so which attracts people. So all of these things have been distributed over an area of about 25 kilometers, which is divided into discrete zones, walled, urban core in which the bulk of the city's population was located. So if you want me to see, channels are there, column halls are there, mandaps are there, tower gateways are there, many things are there, many things are there. In fact, temples are there. Tungabhadra River, it's basically near to the river, so it gives a beautiful sight to the tourist and a uh, relaxing time. Now next comes Machilipatnam, which is a port town. It's in Andhra Pradesh, which is 150 kilometers north of Chennai, on the mouth of Krishna River. It was the first Dutch settlement, but it is said that it was founded by the trading Arabs in the 14th century when they were on the way from Red Sea to southern India. It became a flourishing seaport during the time of Satvahans. It was under the rule of Hindu kings, but it was captured by Muslim rulers in 1478 and then by Vijayanagara rulers, and then Dutch came, then English came, then French, and eventually Britishers took it over. The city received its present name in 1949-80. Machilipatnam is a railroad terminus and a seaport. The city's main industry include carpet weaving, rice and oilseed milling, and the manufacture of scientific instruments. The city is also known for its kalamkari textiles and printing created by using vegetable dyes. The beaches of Machlipuram are marked with scenic beauty, and which, because of the scenic beauty, many tourists are attracted every year. During the festival of Manga Purnima, thousands of pilgrims they come and they dip into the river. There are many temples which are dedicated to Lord Shiva, and church are also there. Ghantashala are also there, which are the great attraction for Christians and Buddhists. Now we talk about Surat. Surat, uh, it's in Gujarat currently. It is located at the mouth of Tapti River on the Gulf of Cambay, and it was founded by Hindu Brahmin called Gopi when in 1516 AD. But it was attacked by Muslim, Portuguese, Mughals, Marathas from the 12th to 15th century. The city gradually declined throughout the 18th century. The British and Dutch both claimed control, but in 1880, its administration passed to the British. By the mid 19th century, Surat was a stagnant city of 8,000 inhabitants. It prospered again with the opening of Indian railways. The ancient art of manufacturing fine muslin was revived, and Surat cottons, silk, brocade, the brocade is the name of the cloth, and objects of gold and silver have become famous. The city houses other industries also. Surat has recently emerged as a great center of diamond cutting and polishing. Different craftsmen have organized themselves into guilds to promote their goods. Now, this is a case study, a small case study uh, about the pilgrimage centers. India is a country where several religions are practiced. We all know that. Besides the dominant Hindu region, as such, several pilgrimage centers sprang up. The other Hindu pilgrimage centers include many. We all know the name: Haridwar, Badrinath, Kedarnath, Varanasi, Prayagraj, Dwarika, Puri, Bodh Gaya, etc. So these are only the names of the pilgrimage center. Just this is all about this chapter. Go through this chapter, read each and everything. You will be able to understand. It's a nice chapter, and half of the things we have already learned in the previous chapters. Thank you so much.